So I just finished watching the Back to the Beginning thing, and I don't know what time this goes up relative to when that concluded, because I think I was watching some of the replay because I started it this morning and had to leave and was watching, I guess, a portion from earlier in the concert. The video on demand isn't up for continued viewing as I'm recording this, but I was going to talk about this if I was going to view that show, and I hadn't made up my mind until last night, and that was mostly because my dad had asked me about it and wanted me to get some clips for him, and so that was the thing that really pushed me over into it, because I was just going to wait for the inevitable release of whatever, because it's undoubtedly coming at one point in time in the future. But the lineup was actually, it's boilerplate, but if you recollect from the Ozzfest, and this is 20 years next month from the last time that they performed together as the original band. The date that I saw them was August the 20th, 2005, in Devore, California, which is in San Bernardino near LA. For those that don't know that part of the country or the world, depending on where you're seeing this from, at what was known at the time as the San Manuel Casino Amphitheater, which originally was the site of the Ozzfest back in 83. That's the first event that was held on those grounds, and that's what was originally built for. But that was the last performance of those four guys, and I was fortunate to have been able to see that show, because I got to see them live. They're for as young as I am, they've been my favorite band, and then in addition to the Ozzy solo stuff, they've been my favorite band since I was 14. And so, and it's weird, and it's because of the influences. I just heard the music, and that's what I dug, and that's been the influence of record collecting. That's been the influence for these channels, because I get to talk about it, even if I'm just talking to myself. I get to express my thoughts, and I have no other outlet to do that, because I have no one else to share this fandom with in my circle of influence. So I do it here, and you go with the Ozzfest type lineup, and that's what this basically consisted of. With the timing of everything, with the length of everything, a full day thing, and it's 4 or 5 songs, 20-minute sets for these bands, and you're on and you're off, and you keep rotating. So everything, as expected with that, and the people that were involved from the band, Slayer, 96, which was the first full tour. 95, when that initial tour happened, it was, I believe, 3 dates. You did Phoenix, there was Devore, and there was one other date, I believe, either in the Midwest or back east in the United States, and that was it. But 96 was the full time when they went across the country. I don't know if that went international, but that was the first extended date was 96. And Slayer was on that first tour, and of course Pantera, 2000, and Slayer and Pantera both, multiple things. Disturbed, represented by David Draymond, Lamb of God. They did probably several, but the one I remember from them was the 2007 tour, known as Free Fest. That was, you buy Black Rain, and you get a lawn ticket for that tour. For those of you that have or know of the first issue on CD for that album with the shitty paper cover that just had Ozzy Osbourne and Black Rain written on it without the image that they did later for the reissues of that. But that one, you had a free ticket, and that's what I saw for them for Lamb of God's first performance, and that was a weird show because of the bands that were there. But for me, being a Sabbath Ozzy fan, I was there for just one band, and I was there to see Ozzy. I didn't care about the rest, even though I enjoyed all of it, and the 4 Ozzfest that I went to. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything, except for some incidents in 2006 that prevented me from seeing Disturbed as the headliner and System of a Down as the co on that when Ozzy played the second stage as a headliner instead of doing the main stage. And I, of course, rectified that later. So it was a familiar set, and everybody did phenomenal. A lot of Black Sabbath covers, 1 or 2 originals from them, and that was largely it. So nothing out of the ordinary, nothing unexpected really. Again, I haven't seen all of it with some of the jams. That was actually amazing. Lizzie Hale doing Ultimate Sin was astounding. Getting in heavy with some of the Jakey Lee stuff from those 2 albums, and that just underscores with that how fans have been robbed with Just Say Ozzy as an EP, the Ultimate Sin album, Live and Loud, live compilation, among a few other things that have been out of print and robbed because of those legal issues concerning the song Shot in the Dark. And what struck me as odd is that they're using in Ozzy's intro before he took the stage for his solo stuff, they're using live shots from that concert video that's been out of print, probably on the internet somewhere, but it's been out of print. I have a DVD copy of it, but that's been out of print because of those legal issues surrounding that song, and that's sad. Because the audio portion of that is phenomenal. The video, because of the poor editing that was done, does a major disservice for the viewing experience if you're not used to it, because it is very jarring to see multiple outfit changes and everything, multiple guitars, and this has been discussed before because this has been a known issue, but why use that footage? That's kind of, it's a shame, because that, as far as live footage goes, there isn't a lot. So the footage that exists, I believe, as a fan, should be preserved. And in some of this examples, they haven't been because of legal issues that, again, I don't care about, because I'm not on the legal side. I'm just a fan. I'm affected by it by a certain degree, but that's not my fight. I'm the fan who was just buying the stuff, and it's a shame for posterity that those things be lost, because the fans know what's at the end of that concert, and that's an incredible 3-song performance from those original 4 guys. And of course that's not the end, because they did 97, they did 99, various tours through the early to mid 2000s, and then of course they did the stuff from 2013 to about 2017 or so. But again, the original band, that the last thing was 2005. And luckily there was a DVD and Blu-ray that documented that. Unfortunately, it was the same 3 songs that have been played at every show since they were recorded. But it's a document nonetheless, and so I believe value. But Ozzy did his damnedest, and again, I had no expectations for that portion, because just him being there was a feat in and of itself. Forgetting the ending to Crazy Train is unfortunate given the moment, but of course that could just be the audio on the stream. I had a little bit of trouble, but because I had recently changed internet and had a much better connection, I did reasonably well, except at the start it was a little choppy, but it did relatively well, and I had well above the download speed that was suggested, which was 20 megabits per second. So I did okay, but they ended strong. Again, playing as a band, what you would expect. And it's bittersweet, of course, but these things have to end. I would love to have these things continued on, and if you've got original members and they're physically able to perform, I'd say perform until you're physically unable to do that. And that's the fan in me, but these are real people, even though we consider them to be heavy metal gods, and especially these 4 individuals specifically. But that's only on the stage. They are, in fact, mortal men. So there's a limit to what they can do, and even with the struggles and however much we would want them to continue on and all that through the years, because you could see how emotional it was for Ozzy, and how much he was happy to be there, wanted to be there, wanted to perform, and fans know that, and it's never been faked. And again, I'm a fanatic of this, so I will give him more leeway. than I would, others. But he wanted to be there, and he worked hard. But the thing is, there comes a point where you can't do it anymore, and as much as you'd want them to continue on until they dropped, you don't want to see them drop on the stage. Not that level of icon, not that caliber of band. And he's really the last heavy metal rock icon of his stature that's left. With, Dio and, Lemmy and, those tent poles of the genre and subgenres and surrounding genres. He's the last one. And the last super character, especially for heavy metal. And I would want a satisfying conclusion, and where he goes out being able to make some level of a statement, and that be the final thing said. And people continue to argue, as they have for 30 years, about his ability to sing and perform and all that. And I mean, he's Ozzy. You know what you're going to expect going in. You've known that for decades, and it's just what it is. And he delivered what he could, and I'm certainly satisfied. And I hope that you bring an end, and you can have this, as a conclusion. They go out, and you don't remember the frailty too much, because they're still there. The fire's still there. So these are just kind of my thoughts. I've been rambling for way too long. I realize that. So if anybody sees this or doesn't see this, it's kind of immaterial to me at this point. It's just a document of my thoughts kind of thing. But if you have continued to watch this far, thank you, for the viewers. And I know they won't see this, but to the band, and those four individuals, and of course all the managers, and the people that worked, some that are no longer alive, that worked in production and management, and recording, and all that stuff, roadies, everything else. You've made my wallet a lot lighter, obviously. But thank you for writing music that I don't know if changed my life would be the right word, but affected me in a way that I can't really define. But it was as simple as I heard a song on the radio and something clicked, and here we are, 22, 23 years later, and I got into heavier music, darker and more growls, more drums, more harsher guitar and everything. But Sabbath, I mean, they've been a constant. And Ozzy solo has been a constant for more than half of my life, and will continue to be until I can no longer form thoughts. Thank you to those individuals that made that happen, and congratulations, and Black Sabbath forever, forever Black Sabbath.